You want to lead. You want respect. You want men to listen when you speak and move when you move. Then understand this before anything else. You do not lead with words. You do not lead with titles. You do not lead with a loud voice, a hot temper, or a list of demands. You lead with what you do when nobody is clapping. You lead by example, or you are not a leader. You are just noise. Most men want authority without discipline. They want the seat without carrying the weight. They want obedience from others while their own habits are weak, scattered, and soft. They want to command men they cannot even inspire. And they wonder why nobody follows. Listen to me. Men are not moved by your opinions. Men are moved by your standard. They watch what you tolerate. They watch what you avoid. They watch what you do under pressure. Then they decide if you are worth following. You can speak 1,000 times. If your life contradicts your words become worthless. Your mouth can lie. Your example cannot. And that is why leading by example is not a tactic. It is a way of life. It is the hardest kind of leadership because it gives you nowhere to hide. If you want men to be disciplined, you must be disciplined first. If you want men to be calm, you must be calm when it matters. If you want men to be courageous, you must move toward fear, not around it. And if you want men to carry weight, you must be the first man to pick it up. This is not motivational talk. This is law. Let me teach you the truth the world avoids. A leader is a man who lives in a way that makes other men raise their standards without being asked. That is leadership. Not performance, not speeches, not clever advice. A leader is proof, and proof does not come from what you say. It comes from what you do again and again, especially when it is inconvenient. Let me tell you why most men fail here. Because leading by example requires you to become the man you claim to be. And that demands pain. It demands self-denial. It demands humility, because you cannot preach discipline while living like a slave to comfort. You cannot demand respect while disrespecting yourself. You cannot talk about honor while cutting corners and hiding your weakness. Men can smell hypocrisy like smoke. You cannot fool them for long. Even if they nod, even if they stay quiet, they feel it. And once they feel it, you lose them. They will still show up, but they will not give you their loyalty. They will listen, but they will not be moved. Because a man only gives his loyalty to a man he trusts. And trust is built when your life matches your words. Now listen carefully. Leading by example begins in the smallest places, not in the big moments, not on the battlefield, not in front of crowds. It begins in the private moments where nobody sees you. How you wake up, how you speak to people when you are tired, how you handle stress, how you keep promises, how you train when you do not feel like it, how you act when you make a mistake. Those moments build your character, and character is the foundation of leadership. A weak man tries to lead with force. A strong man leads with presence. Presence is what happens when a man is anchored, when he is stable, when he is consistent, when he does not change his standards based on his mood. Men follow that, because men crave stability, even if they pretend they do not, even if they rebel against it. Deep down, every man wants a standard that does not move. That is why the world is full of confusion. There are too many opinions and not enough standards. So when a man shows up who is disciplined, calm, and consistent, people feel it immediately. Not because he talks about it, because he embodies it. Let me speak to you like a father would speak to a son. If you want to lead others, you must master yourself first. Your mind, your body, your mouth, your emotions, your impulses. Because if you cannot control yourself, you will try to control others out of insecurity. And insecure leadership always becomes tyranny. It becomes anger. It becomes manipulation. It becomes fear. That is not leadership. That is weakness wearing armor. True leadership is restraint. It is composure. It is doing the right thing without needing credit. It is correction without cruelty. It is strength without ego. And it starts with you being the example, even when it costs you. If you want your men to work hard, you cannot be lazy. If you want your men to be on time, you cannot be late. If you want your men to speak truth, you cannot dodge accountability. If you want your men to be loyal, you cannot betray trust in small ways. Men learn more from what you do than from what you say. So the first rule is this: never ask a man to do what you would not do yourself. Never demand a standard you refuse to live by, because the moment you do, you break the bond. Now let me go deeper. The world teaches boys to chase attention, to chase approval, to chase status. So many men become leaders for the wrong reason. They want to feel important. They want people to depend on them. They want the image of power. But leadership is not a mirror to admire yourself. Leadership is a burden. It is responsibility. It is being the man who holds the line when everyone else wants to drift. It is being the man who stays sober when everyone else wants to escape. It is being the man who trains when everyone else says it is fine to rest. It is being the man who stays calm when everyone else panics. And the reason it is hard is because there are no excuses when you lead by example. You cannot blame your mood. You cannot blame the situation. You cannot point at another man and say, he started it. When you lead, you are the standard, so you must live like it. Let me give you a picture. Imagine a pack of wolves moving through a storm. The leader does not walk behind. He walks in front, not because he wants glory, because he takes the wind first, he takes the cold first, he takes the danger first, and because he does, the pack moves as one. That is leadership. Taking the pressure first, taking the discomfort first, taking the responsibility first. A leader eats last, not because he is weak, but because he is strong enough to put duty before appetite. A leader sleeps last, not because he seeks suffering, but because he understands vigilance. A leader speaks last, not because he is silent to look wise, but because he listens before he decides. And when he decides, he does not hesitate, because hesitation spreads like disease. If you want to lead, you must become a man who does not negotiate with weakness, not in yourself, not in others. But understand this: leading by example does not mean being perfect. It means being honest. It means when you fail, you own it immediately. You do not hide. You do not excuse. You do not twist the story to protect your ego. You say, I was wrong. You correct it. Then you move forward. That is leadership. Men do not respect a man who pretends he never falls. They respect the man who gets up without excuses. They respect the man who takes responsibility even when it hurts his pride. Because pride is fragile. Pride breaks under pressure, but honor holds. Now, let me give you a truth that will save you. You cannot lead men who do not trust you, and men will not trust you if you are inconsistent. If you are disciplined one day and lazy the next, you teach them that discipline is optional. If you are calm one day and explosive the next, You teach them that emotions control the mission. If you speak about standards but tolerate chaos, you teach them that your standards are just words. Your example is always teaching, even when you are not trying. So you must live with awareness, because leadership is not a moment, it is a lifestyle. Now, listen. There are 3 kinds of men around you. The first are men who are already strong. They do not need your permission to work hard. They just need a leader who does not get in the way. The second are men who want to be strong, but they lack structure. They are waiting for a standard to lock onto. The third are men who are weak and proud. They resist discipline because it exposes them. You cannot save every man, but your example will reveal every man. It will either inspire him or offend him, and you must be ready for that. Because when you raise your standard, lazy men get uncomfortable. Weak men get defensive. They will call you intense. They will say you take life too seriously. They will say you think you are better. No, you are not better. You are just unwilling to rot. You are unwilling to decay. You are unwilling to live a small life, and that makes small men angry. Let them be angry. A leader does not lower his standard to make weak men comfortable. He holds the line. Now, let me teach you what leading by example looks like in real life. It looks like discipline without being watched. It looks like arriving early. It looks like preparation. It looks like training when you would rather rest. It looks like doing the boring work. It looks like cleaning your own mess. It looks like keeping your word. It looks like saying no to indulgence. It looks like being calm in conflict. It looks like being respectful without being soft. It looks like being hard when it is time to be hard, and gentle when it is time to be gentle. A leader is not a machine, but he is a man with control. Control is what separates a leader from a child. Now think about the man you want to become. Do you want to be the man others rely on? Then you must become reliable. Reliability is not a feeling. It is a pattern built through repetition, through habits, through standards. And this is where most men fail. They wait for motivation. They wait for the right mood. They wait for the perfect time. A leader does not wait. A leader moves, even when he does not feel ready. Because a leader knows readiness is built in motion. And every time you move when it is hard, you send a message. Not with words, with your life. You tell the men watching you, it can be done. You tell them, comfort is not in control here. You tell them, we are not slaves to weakness. That is leadership. Now listen carefully, son. If you want men to follow you, you must be willing to go first. First into discomfort. First into effort. First into responsibility. You cannot stand at the back and demand courage. You cannot sit in comfort and demand sacrifice. You cannot hide and demand men face fear. Go first, even if your legs shake, even if you are tired, even if you are not sure. Go first. And when you go first, do it quietly. Do it without announcing it. Do it without needing recognition. Because the moment you need recognition, you reveal weakness. You reveal ego. And ego is the enemy of leadership. Ego makes you perform. Ego makes you chase applause. Ego makes you punish men for not validating you. A leader does not need validation. He needs results. He needs order. He needs progress. So kill ego. Become the example, not the actor. Now let me tell you what happens when you lead by example. You create a culture. A culture is not built by slogans. It is built by what is rewarded and what is tolerated. If you tolerate laziness, laziness spreads. If you tolerate excuses, excuses spread. If you tolerate disrespect, disrespect spreads. But if you embody discipline, discipline spreads. If you embody courage, courage spreads. If you embody calm, calm spreads. Men become like the standard they live under. So if you are the standard, the environment changes. And this is why leading by example is power. Because you do not need to argue. You do not need to convince. You simply live at a level that forces others to choose, rise or stay small. And the ones who rise become your brothers. The ones who stay small fall away. That is natural. That is how it should be. Now understand this. A leader also corrects, but correction without example is hypocrisy. Correction without example is just criticism. If you want to correct a man, he must believe you are correcting him for the mission, not for your ego. He must believe you want him stronger, not smaller. And the only way he believes that is if your life proves it. If your life proves you hold yourself to the same standard. So when you correct with clarity. You do not insult. You do not mock. You do not humiliate. You state the standard. You state the expectation. You state the consequence. Then you move forward. Men respect that. Because it is clean, it is fair, it is strong. Now let me speak about the most important place you will ever lead. Your home, your family, your future. You can lead a room full of men, but if you cannot lead yourself at home, you are not a leader. If your wife does not respect your discipline, your calm, your reliability, your word, then your leadership is hollow. If your children do not see you living what you teach, they will ignore your words and copy your habits. Children do not learn from lectures. They learn from example. And if you want to build a legacy, you do not build it with speeches. You build it with daily standards. What time you wake up, how you treat your wife, how you handle anger, how you handle stress, how you handle disappointment, how you handle temptation. That is where leadership becomes real. A man who can be calm in public but unstable at home is not strong. He is performing. A man who can inspire strangers but disappoint his own family is not a leader. He is chasing approval. So lead first where it matters most, in your own life, in your own habits, in your own home. Now, hear this. Leading by example is not glamorous. Most days, it's quiet. It is repetitive. It is doing the same things again. Training, working, planning, reading, eating clean, sleeping with discipline, avoiding indulgence, holding your tongue when anger rises, choosing the hard path again and again. And that is why it builds real power, because it shapes you into a man who can be trusted, a man who is stable, a man who does not crumble. And when the storm comes, people look for stability. They look for a man who does not panic. They look for a man who moves with control. That is when leadership is revealed, not when everything is easy, when everything is chaotic. So train for chaos now. Live your standards now. Because the day you need leadership is not the day you will build it. Leadership is built long before the moment arrives. It is built in private and revealed in public. Now let me give you a final truth. The world is full of men demanding respect, but respect is not demanded. Respect is earned, and it is earned by consistency, by competence, by integrity, by sacrifice, by doing what you say you will do, by being the man you claim to be. So if you want to lead, stop talking, stop announcing, stop promising. Become the man who trains. Become the man who does not complain. Become the man who carries weight. Become the man who is calm under pressure. Become the man who keeps his word. Become the man who corrects himself first, and men will follow without being asked, because men follow strength, not the strength of muscles alone, the strength of character, the strength of discipline, the strength of restraint. That is the kind of strength the world cannot fake, and that is why your example is your greatest weapon. Not your voice, not your intellect, not your opinions, your life. So lead by example, son. Not when it is convenient, not when you are praised. Lead by example when nobody sees, because that is when you are forged. That is when you become dangerous in the right way. Stable, disciplined, reliable. A man others can stand behind. A man who holds the line. A man who does not bend for comfort. A man who lives by a code. And when you live by that code, your presence alone will awaken men. Without speeches, without begging, without forcing. Because the truth is simple. A leader is not the man who says, "Follow me." A leader is the man whose life makes others say, "I will follow him." That is the warrior's code. Discipline, power, legacy.